gentlemen. It's that time of week again to do a DSLR video shooter live stream. Welcome everybody. We got a whole bunch of people already in here. Frozone, Mamond, Luke, Comment, Lou, Mimo, Johans, Tobias, and others. Welcome everybody. We're doing something a little different today. We're gonna do, first we're gonna turn the music down just a little bit, just like that. And then we're going to do a live unboxing. So I get sent requests to review things. The schedule is kind of filled up for the rest of the year when it comes to what I'm trying to get out video-wise. So I can't really do that. And Andycine, who you guys have seen probably their monitors online, they make a monitor that has like a battery. It's powered thing. It can power up your camera. They make some really nice panels that are very affordable. So they asked if I could do a review of a monitor, and I said I really can't fit any videos in for a while, so we're going to be checking it out here on the stream, and this will be a lot of fun. You guys can ask questions. I do have links to the two things we'll be checking out today. So one is the monitor, and I'll pull up the specs for that here in a second, and then the other is a new mount that isn't a ball head, so you just grab the monitor and start moving it around. What's cool about this one is it's supposed to handle a lot of weight. So we're actually going to be throwing a fully rigged caged Shogun Inferno on a camera with one small mount. We'll see if it works. So we're going to jump straight in. Once we're done with the unboxing and checking out the monitor and mount, we'll jump into some questions and do some live Q&A. I see a bunch of sponsors here, or members rather. Welcome guys. What's going on, Carlos? All right, let's do this. So the monitor in question is right here. It is the Andycine A6. It is a 7-inch monitor, IPS panel, 1920 by 1200 resolution, and this one has 3G SDI in and out, as well as HDMI in and out. And the price is $237, which to have SDI in and out is pretty impressive. Now it's not 6G, it's 3G, so it'll only handle up to HD, but that's hard to find. We're looking at 4K for the resolution that it can accept, meaning you'll be able to go up to 30 frames per second in 4K and monitor it on this guy, and the camera won't have to do any extra processing, which is cool. Unfortunately, it won't handle 4K 60, but the cameras usually downscale that for us. So let's go ahead and jump in, shall we? Let me know if you guys have any specific questions. Let me whip out a knife here because we've got some tape. And also, if you guys have used Andycine monitors in the past, I mean, it's crazy right now how many are coming out from all the manufacturers. So we got a case inside the box. Gonna drop that. Hopefully that wasn't too loud for those wearing headphones. Gonna unzip this puppy and see what we have. This thing's loaded with stuff. Get rid of all these user guides and whatnot. And we're just gonna jump straight in. I always dislike unboxings where they, oh, here's the manual. It says product manual, and they take all their time with the accessories. So we're just gonna jump straight in. Here's the monitor itself. Oh, it's actually a pretty nice little bag. We're gonna pull it out. Like a lot of these monitors, I'm gonna go ahead and change my focus, so bear with me. This is not a Sony or Canon camera. This is Panasonic G7, so there we go. Like a lot of these monitors, there's like this plastic, you know, Velcro-y thing that wraps around it, letting you use the hood. And let me see if I can just pop that off. There we go. So now I've just removed it. Now we're down to the bare monitor itself. Here's our SDI connectors. There's our HDMI in and out. Buttons on the top. And connectors are on the side, which I always like to see. It's always annoying when they're underneath the camera or underneath the monitor, because then you're trying to like plug them in and, you know, it's blocking stuff. We also have power in, USB for upgrades, headphone jack, and then it takes standard FW or Sony MPF batteries. So let's go ahead and rig this thing up with some power, which of all the things I forgot to grab. So we're gonna do that real quick. I apologize, guys. Actually, let's go ahead and use or check out this mount while I'm sitting here. I got all these cameras out and everything for this, and I forget the battery. All right, here we go. So this is the Andycine. Look at this little case. It's pretty cool. It comes with some tools and whatnot, so you can change the friction HSMO3, and all this stuff is linked to in the description. We'll check this puppy out real quick. Change my focus. Something like that. So it's like in a little Pelican case, which is kind of cool. Let's see if I can open this puppy up. Little tabs all the way around it. And a bunch of baggies. So this has multiple screw heads in a little box. More in a box. Set that down. And then we have this crazy tool, which I'll show you guys, for tightening it. And so my guess is I should be able to get this thing pretty snug, even with a massive monitor. And we'll put this on a GH5S for this ridiculous setup here in a moment. Pulling the actual mount out, and there it is. Very small. And the friction on it is already really, really tight. So the idea is, instead of having a ball head where you would loosen it with one hand, you'd adjust your monitor, and then you'd have to somehow tighten it up again. This thing, you just mount your monitor to it, and then you start pushing it around. Now, I will say, over here, I've been using the small rig version of this. So you can see it on top of this GH5S setup. And it does kind of the same thing, where it's just, you know, a friction system. But there's not any good way to make sure that's going to be snug for heavier monitors. So I've only been using it with lightweight, let's say 5-inch monitors, maybe some 7-inch monitors. But this, I've been told, is ready to handle some serious weight. Now, this also has a, you know, hot shoe or cold shoe attachment. So I don't know if there's other models or versions that have, you know, a way to mount it or, you know, bolt it directly to your cage. But that also has that friction, which is really cool. And that's what the small rig does not have. So there's no way to swivel it back and forth. So I'm going to grab a battery because I forgot one like an idiot. Give me, guys, 1 second and I'll be right back. It's just over here in the next room. Pardon me. And we're back. Okay, so let's power up this monitor, shall we? And we'll get this all rigged up real quick. So I just put in the power, or a battery on the back. Nice big battery. Andy A7. Is that backward for you guys? Let me know. Okay. Very bright. We got a power indicator on there, which is always a good thing. Let's run through real quick our functions. I'll switch back my focus here. Probably need to switch to something for autofocus when I do this, but I do not trust the G7 to get that to work for me. All right, so I'm gonna move over here, and it looks like there's not that much. Let me just make sure I'm not missing something, but okay, here we go. So we have center mark, save frames, flipping the image, picture to picture, false color, zooming, anamorphic mode. So that's really good. I always like to see that. We've got focus assist, peaking, overexposure, exposure level, audio, grids, ratio markers, colors for all the markers and ratios. So this actually has a lot. And then we also can program 2 buttons to activate any of those. So let's go ahead and mount this thing up to our little guy here. I'm a little concerned that this isn't going to handle the Shogun, but we'll find out. It does feel really strong. It's just so small. So I'm going to thread it on. There is a really nice knurled knob, so I can just, without any tools, tighten this up. Something like that. Let me get 2 hands on this puppy to really snug it up. Boom. Look how tiny that thing is. Just right there. So 7-inch monitor sitting on top of this guy. And let's throw it on the GH5, which I have right here. Just going to slide it in. Oh, that's snug. There we go. Snapped into place. Snug up that knob. And there you go. Monitor. And the beauty is I can just grab it, move it, release it. Feels like it's not going anywhere. I'm shaking it around. Whoops, it's spun a little bit, so I might have to snug something up there. Let's see. Yeah, so I got to tighten that axis up a little bit. but yeah, that's real loose. But the tilt is gold. So that's really nice. You can tilt it back, watch from below, tilt it all the way forward, get some nice low angles. Okay, that's working for me. Now, let's go ahead and unthread this, and I'm going to throw on the Shogun in a second. I'm going to switch over to the chat here and see what's going on with you all. Will the monitor work with the A7 III? Absolutely. It'll go up to 4K 30 frames per second. And it depends on the camera, but sometimes 60 frames will also work. It's just the camera has to downsize that, you know, that signal. So the reason we want monitors that can accept a 4K signal is if you hook this up to, if you hook up an HD monitor that doesn't accept a 4K signal, the camera has to take the image that it's outputting and do the downscaling in the camera. Usually what that means is your autofocus and some other features of the camera will take a hit and you won't get as good autofocus as well as other things. So by having a monitor that can accept a 4K signal, you're letting the camera ignore that and just send a 4K signal. And then the monitor will take that 4K signal and get it to work on a lower resolution. So this is, you know, HD, not 4K in a 7-inch monitor. So that'll help with autofocus. So cameras like we were just talking about, the A7 III, pretty much all Panasonic's and Sony's work like that. And so that's one reason to definitely check out something. When it comes to build quality on this puppy, we're looking at plastic. So again, an HD SDI as well as HDMI in and out monitor with all those assist features we talked about for 200 and whatever I said, $237. So pretty sweet. So I'm gonna undo or remove this little mount here. I'm gonna set this monitor down. Let me grab the beast down below me here. Okay, so here is the Atomos Shogun Inferno. I'll just power it on so we have something to look at here. It's fully rigged out with 2 batteries, an SSD, and this thing is wrapped in a monster cage, as you can see. So we've got quarter 20s all the way around. Very heavy setup. To date, the only mount that I've trusted with this thing is the Manfrotto. I wish I knew the model number. Here we go, Manfrotto 492. It's a killer monster of a ball head. I have no, you know, issues with this guy. I've always trusted it. It works phenomenal. So we're gonna replace this with that little guy because I've seen in photos where this is a setup that they've used. So we're gonna see if that's possible. I'm not gonna sweat it if it's not, and I just won't use it because, you know, don't want to break my recorder. But if I've seen it in a photo, you know, we got to try it. So we're going to snug this up real nice. Let's do, just trying to get the, I usually try to snug it up, leave it crooked, and then once it's real tight, I then just twist the whole thing just like that. And we're going to try this. We'll do the GH5 again. Actually, no, let's go big. We're going to grab a GH5S with a grip and a cage and a Sigma. Since this thing doesn't have stabilization, it could probably benefit from as much weight as possible. So I'm going to slot that in there. If I can line it up. Come on, baby. There we go. Snug it down. All right. Oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. So there you have it. I'm noticing right away it's not quite there. It's slipping, but this guy is designed to get snugged up. So I'm going to grab that Allen key. I've made the mistake of putting all this weight with no place to set it down. I'm going to open this little baggie here. I'm going to snug it up, and let's see if it can handle the weight. All right, bear with me. Wish I could show this in front of the camera, but... All right, so there's one side. You can, on either side of this little guy, there is a little bolt. Oh, this is very difficult to do with one hand, but it'll be worth it. One moment, talk amongst yourselves. Almost there. Okay. Moment of truth. Wow, so that really snugged it up. So it doesn't take much. Oh yeah, that's going to be no issue. Look at that. See that? That's amazing. So again, this thing is stupid heavy with the giant metal cage, 2 batteries. I'm shaking it, nothing. It's not moving at all. In fact, it's difficult to even move my hand here. There we go. So there's it tilted. Tilting it forward. So I would have to loosen that up a little bit. But that's impressive, guys. Let me tilt it forward like that. Look at that. Look how small. This thing is laughably small. I'm going to reset my focus here. Right there. That's all that's holding this beast onto this camera. There's a bunch of stuff all on my desk. Nice. Okay, so I dig that. And price on this I don't think I mentioned, but it's $39, $40, something like that. All right. Let me get this. It is very tight. The hot shoe on the bottom of it is very snug, which I guess is a good thing, but you'll want to be careful putting it on and off your cameras. Let me set all this down real quick. Just like that. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. So the last thing I want to do is I want to throw or hook this guy up to my GH5 and check latency. That's the #1 question I get asked when I do a monitor review. Unfortunately, most of these monitors are not gonna give us good low latency. The problem is the cameras, I think, because I've tested, I mean, tons of different monitors on all these different cameras, and every single one has been bad. These 4K monitor, or these 4K cameras rather. So I am going to grab in this pile of unpacked stuff an HDMI cable. We're gonna go HDMI in on the monitor. Does have pass-through for people who missed that at the beginning. Grab a GH5, fire it up. Does that have a battery life? Yep. Open up the flap on the GH5, hook it up, and let's see what we got here. Oh, you hear that? Let me turn it down. There we go. So there's a speaker on this thing. If you need a speaker, I'm going to turn that all the way down. And yep, there's a little bit of latency there. All right, pull it up here. Oh, ready? Point at the light. Twitch, 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 twitch. Same issue I've seen on all these different cameras. So I don't know why that is. If someone's really much smarter than I am, please let me know, because I've always wondered why these 4K cameras are so bad with latency. I don't know if I don't think it's HDMI, the spec. It's got to be the processors they're all using or something. But looks amazing on this, because again, we're getting 4K. The monitor is grabbing that 4K signal and down resing it to HD, because this thing, I mean, something this small with a 4K resolution would be ridiculous. So anyway, that is the monitor. SDI, HDMI, tons of assist features, anamorphic, really, really sharp display. Angles looked decent, viewing angles, which is something that's, you know, you're like, oh, cool, new monitor, and you don't think about that, because that can always be a huge issue. And then I'm honestly, I mean, the monitor is awesome, but the mount is what I'm most excited about. Putting that to work, fine-tuning it for the perfect weight, and then using that with stuff like that Inferno is pretty sweet for $40. So I'll report back if I have any issues, but seems to be working for me. All right, we've got a bunch of people in the comments, some things to address here. First and foremost, Ryan, what is going on, dude? Boom, $5 from Ryan Co. Good to see you, man. Glad you enjoyed my short film. Really excited to be back posting new content. So yeah, Ryan was gone on a trip. You should check out his channel. Awesome. Crazy project he was working on. We got Kim in here. What's going on, Kim? I saw Fur somewhere as well. Welcome. Baron, how you doing? All right, so I'm gonna catch up here. Looks like Geek's Life. What's going on, dude? Just saw you on your stream over there. $10 donation. Geek's Life says, dude, streaming quality is amazing, but I expect that from you. It's awesome, dude. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Actually, I have like 14 cameras on in front of me. Thanks, dude. Definitely check out Geek's Life. They do streaming like all the time. So if you're really into streaming gear, they make like they rig up these backpacks so they can like run around with LTE streaming. So that's pretty sweet. Really means a lot, dudes. Yeah. So what do you guys think? Any thoughts? Any questions? I'm gonna jump down to the bottom of the pile here. Let's see. Fur says, if that one has video out in future reviews, you should cover the audio video sync issues. I've tried to use the video out on the Andycine, and that's wrecked one of my streams you saw. Interesting. Oh, so I see. So if you're using the output for live streaming, that was an issue, huh? Feels like my big screen TV has less delay. With your camera? That'd be interesting. Yeah, that's a good point. We should compare this to TVs and see if the TVs are doing a better job. Supercardioid Mike, would you recommend something like an NTG2? So supercardioid, I can't remember what this is. This is the Aperture Deity, now just Deity SO2 or something. I think it's a cardioid, but I cannot recall. I had the NTG4, or have the NTG4, and that was a good microphone. But Deity's going to come out with some pretty great stuff, so I'd keep an eye on that company. Otherwise, I believe Asden has some new good stuff. I haven't checked them out yet, but I'm hoping to buy some of those microphones and be able to have a good recommendation for a budget microphone. Camera processing video 4K is the latency point. Great point, Jeff. That's something I did not think about. So yeah, that makes sense. So I wonder if I downscaled in camera, force the camera to downscale, would it be better? And I can figure that out real quick while I read these comments. Geeks Life says, thanks. Thank you, sir. Or sirs, or madam, whoever over there from the team is hanging out. Can you tighten the 360 swivel on the mount? I believe so. What's tricky is, you know, there's I need to adjust. Actually, that's what that thing is for. I forgot to mention. This tool right here, you're able to wrap it around that thing and snug it up. I totally spaced that this is a critical part of the operation. Firing up my GH5. We're going to see what's up here. What do you use for a light? What would you use that for a light? The monitor? Oh, the ball head. Yeah, you could totally do that. If you're one of, if you rock a light on top of a camera, I don't see why that wouldn't work. It's so small too. It's crazy. And if it's weighty, there's definitely something to that little sucker. Any footage tests from the ESR coming soon? Depends on my video schedule, but I'm hoping to have something up next week, if not the week after that. I'm going to do side-by-sides, and my main thing I want to figure out is really the only redeeming factor to that ESR is the fact that it has a flip-out screen, good autofocus, and a high data rate. HD, it's a solid camera, but it's very expensive for what it is. But I want to see if that 4K 480 megabits a second in 10-bit or 8-bit even is really strong. If it's not that good, then there's really no reason to get this camera unless, again, you want that flip out screen and good autofocus. But if the actual, pixel quality, as I call it, isn't that good, you probably ought to pass on it. So yes, we'll be seeing more from that stuff before too long. What are the songs at the start? I couldn't tell you. It's something I bought forever ago. Probably from I bought it either from Premium Beat or who else would I purchase it from? Probably Premium Beat. Maybe. Nope. Probably Premium Beat. Yep. What about this new 3D sound? Are we talking about like movie theaters and stuff? I saw a little bit of Simon Cade's video on that. Looks interesting. Have you used the Asden before? No, I've only used their SMX 15 and SMX 30. They're essentially versions of what Rode makes as their Video Mic Pro. So it's a competitor to the Video Mic Pro, and I much prefer it over the Video Mic Pro. It sounds better. It's just great. So definitely check those out. So yeah, I need to check out some of their other shotguns, because they used to be the cheap, not very good option when I got started 8 years ago, but they've come a long way. Am I using the DDS Mic 2 right now? No, this is the older Deity, the original microphone. What's up, Baron? But in my main space, I use that microphone. That's all I use. So pretty much every single video that is in a live stream, I'm using their S Mic 2. I always think it's SO2, but yeah. So let's try this. I'm essentially going to try to get this monitor to have less latency by forcing the camera to downscale for us, and that might solve some serious issues with monitoring on these 4K cameras. So we're gonna go over to HDMI, record output on the GH5. I'm gonna turn down convert. Right now it's set to off. I'm gonna force it to go to 1080p. And we're gonna turn on the monitor. And we're gonna see what we get. Okay. Waiting for it. Any day now. Here we go. Jerk. Jerk. Ooh, it's almost worse. So there's that theory dead. Let's go back to auto. Let's try auto. Still bad. And let's try off one more time. Wait for it. Yeah. So that didn't work, but we tried, right? Okay. Got a couple of S Mic 2s and love them from Baron. Okay, cool. Yeah, they're solid. Literally one solid piece of brass, that microphone. What are your thoughts on the XT3? I haven't used one yet, so I really can't speak more than what I know from my XH1. So I'm really stoked for that puppy, though. So I did pre-order it. It's going to be pretty great. I mean, I loved a ton. It really hurt me when I had to sell the XH1, because I can't afford to, because every camera you see on this channel that is here long term, obviously the Canon is only a loaner, but all my cameras I purchase. I don't, get anything for free from manufacturers. So I have to purchase or rent all of those. So I can't afford to hang on to everything, and I really love the XH1, but it just wasn't going to cut it for me long term. So I hung on to my GH5 and GH5S and sold the XH1. But this camera is something else. 10-bit internal. I mean, it's got so much going for it. So I can't wait. I really can't wait. Great question. I already lost the comment. There we go. Bob. Thank you, Bob. Sony FS7 versus GH5 10-bit 42224. Do cinema cameras have an advantage in image quality? Well, the Sony FS7 obviously can do RAW. Has a ton of other features built in. It's loaded, right? So I don't know if that's really a fair comparison. It's kind of interesting looking at the FS7 or FS5 versus these smaller cameras. And listen, I think, and manufacturers won't agree to this, and they look at me when I'm crazy when I talk to them about it, but Canon, every time I bugged them about the 4K crop, they were always like, then go buy a cinema camera. Stop. What are you doing with these little cameras? If you're all twerked about, all, bent out of shape about 4K crops, just buy a big boy camera. But I think eventually stuff like the C300, C200, EVA1 is all going to be in this size. It's just a matter of time, right? All they have to deal with is heat in a small space. And then we're all there. So, 5-10 years from now, this will be able to do, 8K RAW internal with a big sensor, bigger than Micro Four Thirds. So I think it's silly to kind of discount that. I think it makes sense to say, yeah, scientifically that it doesn't work right now. But I don't think people should be ignoring this form factor. And I commend Panasonic for fully embracing that. They have the EVA-1. They could have easily never done this full frame camera they're about to talk, the rumors are all talking about. And they could have, made an EVA-2 or something. EVA-F2, I don't know, something for full frame. And then just kept these bodies slightly crippled. But they're giving us a full frame sensor that's going to be killer video in a small body. So it's just a matter of time. And I can't wait for that, because what I love about this is it can be anything. It can be, a big honkin', you can build it up to have XLRs. Panasonic, they have that sexy little XLR adapter that goes on top. You can build it up, add more power options, a monitor, but at the same time, you can tear it down to this. And with just this, I have Embody Stabilization. I have 4K, 422, 10-bit internal with a high data rate. It's phenomenal. You can throw it on a gimbal. There's so much you can do with small bodies. So I would love to see manufacturers, or maybe someone new, come to market with some cameras that are more modular, kind of like what Red's done, where you can have the brain and then build it up. But what I'd love to see is where the base unit, or the brain, as Red calls them, is actually usable without anything else. The brain from Red is borderline impossible to use without adding all this stuff to it. And at that point, now you're built up. So if someone could come out with something like this, where, maybe the monitor is detachable and it can go on the top, you can stack on power, wireless video, all that fun stuff. I think that's where we're eventually going to be. Smaller bodies that do more, and Panasonic's kind of leading the charge with that. Sony less so, just because they already have the larger form factor cameras and they need to protect that. But Panasonic is still kind of set up to win with the small body thing. They have the EVA-1, but they've come out with large sensor, big bodies that have disappeared. What was it? The Panasonic AF100. Remember that thing? Whew. Anyways, so I'm gonna scroll up here since I missed some stuff. Is ProRes really that much easier to edit? Depends on your software. It looks like you guys are already talking about all that fun stuff up there. But I love ProRes. In Final Cut, of course. ESR M50 with C-Log and 10-bit recording. Sort of. Pretty much, right? With a higher data rate and having that all the buttons and stuff like that. Because the M50, I still haven't done my review. And I've gone back and forth. I was going to do a guide for it. I don't think I will, although I might. I don't know. I just find that camera frustrating to use. Probably because all it wants you to do is just set it to auto and run around. But if you're actually trying to get some good quality out of it, it can be pretty frustrating. Would you mind talking about the new Canon EOS R mount, the RF mount? At this point, I don't have too much to say. It's just like all the other mirrorless, shorter flange distance. I think it's interesting what Canon is doing with the ring on the front of the lenses, which you can declick for $100. What's also interesting is on that system, you can actually change your aperture in, what is it, 1/8 increments. So, when you start spinning the dial to change your aperture, usually it's only a couple spins and you're on either end of the lens range. On that thing, it's like, all right, we're at f4, spin, 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 5-6, spin, 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 6-3, spin, spin. It's crazy. And that's really, really nice for getting your exposure just so. So there could be some interesting things there. Otherwise, honestly, I wouldn't recommend people buy the RF lenses unless there's something really important there for you. Just use the older Canon lenses. It's going to save you a ton of money. Like that 51.2 is $2 to $3 grand the new one, whereas you can buy a 51.2 older mount for what, $1,000, something like that. Welcome Geeks Life. He's a new member. They're a new member. Welcome to the club. We got a bunch of club members down here. Any of those beautiful people with the green names and the little tags, Carlos and whatnot. So good times. All right. Yeah, so that's my thought on the whole R mount and what's going on with that. Blackmagic Micro Cinema Camera. The little baby guy. That'll be interesting, right? Do you think Blackmagic's going to continue those? And if they do, what would the next model look like? And I take it you're mentioning that because of our conversation earlier. And that thing, you can sort of do that, but hopefully they'll update those because there's some weird quirks, and they don't make very good modular things for it. It'd be sweet if they did, but you kind of have to part that stuff out on your own. Sort of like Blackmagic Cine Cams. Yeah, kinda. The Red Brain does not have a lens mount other than the Raven. Yeah, and that's what I mean. Is like, okay, get the mount on it. All right, now we can put a lens on it. How are we going to record media? How am I going to press record? How am I going to hold it, even though it's a perfect box? It just, you got to get a bunch of stuff to make that work. But can you imagine if every single Red camera came kind of like this? Maybe it came with the grip, but like out of the box, you could throw a battery in it, hit record, there's SD card slots on it. And then if you want to go nuts, you can get all the other stuff to get the Red mags and, you know, go nuts. Could be interesting. What's up, Sully? Been a while, dude. What about Blackmagic design? Yeah, we talked about that a little bit. Actually working on my AF100 while the stream is playing in the background. What? Wow. Let's see. Thank you, Bad Karma, for your don't forget to like this video. Do you think 10-bit 420 XT3 will be a big quality difference between the 422? That I'd rather see 10-bit and 420 than 8-bit 422, if that makes sense. 10-bit is where you're really going to notice funky color stuff. The 420 and 422, it's there, but it's not as significant. If that answers your question, I'm not worried about it. The quality difference will depend on what you're filming, though. Most people aren't going to notice. Even people like me, if we're watching a video, I'm not going to be like, that's 420. They filmed that with 420. Most of the time. Would love to see 10-bit C-Log footage grading comparison with Sony. Yeah, so those logs work so differently, I'm finding. Because I'm very comfortable, like insanely comfortable with Vlog, and I think it's the best log option right now. Because there's only one setting, Vlog. Whereas on Sony, we're going to talk about this in an upcoming video because I've learned some incredible stuff, or I have found out some very interesting things, rather. Whereas C-Log and S-Log, you can mess it up pretty bad, but you want to overexpose. With C-Log, I'm finding overexposing isn't as helpful, and the way the LUTs work are a little different. So we'll cover all that stuff. The key and what's massively critical is that 10-bit factor. Even though it's 10-bit external on the EOS R, you're going, and I'll be testing this, but you're pretty much definitely going to see a difference between the two. I can't tell you how many times I've had issues with a wall that's supposed to be white, but actually it's 4 different weird colors on my A7 III. And that's due to potentially 2 things, not being 10-bit and that low data rate. It's like, what, 150 megabits a second for 4K, which is really bad once you do the math. Whereas Canon's, that's a huge data rate. And it's one of the reasons I think the Panasonics look great, is it's a higher data rate. and 10-bit. So yeah, got my Light Dome 2. Did you? Thoughts? No, I have not seen the Light Dome 2 outside of NAB, but that thing, if you're traveling, that's kind of game over. It's pretty much your best shot. Dutch video shooter. What's going on, dude? Love the name. Tweeted you a few days ago about traveling with 1x1 panels. Best solution. You know what, Super Hoove? I didn't forget you. Well, I did, but I actually did some research for you and never got around to sending it to you. So I'll try to find it. Send me another tweet, and I'll hook you up. There's a video that's very old by Matt Jepson. Does anyone remember Fresh DV? I think the site's gone now, which is really sad because Matt killed it over there back in the day. So when I got started and before I got started, that site was up and they had tons of great information. He did some videos talking about how he travels with gear, and he had like perfectly sized Pelican cases for all that. So hit me up with another tweet and I'll get that over to you. Any plans to try out the Takstar SGC 698? Let me look that up. I think I've talked about it if it's what I'm thinking of. Yep. Yeah, I've covered that. I did a video where I compared a bunch of cheap on-camera microphones. It's a pretty old video, but that would be where I would start. So I compared, I think, 4 of them together. And that one did pretty well. Is it advisable to buy an Adamus Inferno if you want a if you have a GH5S? I would just get the new Ninja 5, unless you want ProRes RAW at this time, because that's where you're going to need the Inferno. And I'm wondering how they're going to handle all that, right? So they have the Ninja 5, awesome monitor recorder. Did a review on it. You can check it out on the channel. But I'm wondering if they're not doing SDI as an option for it yet, because they want to protect the Inferno. Because who's going to buy the Inferno if the Ninja 5 can do all that stuff? So interesting. Not saying that's what they're doing. I just like to think about that stuff. Why companies do the things that they do. Let's see. I saw something about, where is it? Someone asked something about Netflix, and I lost it. Hey Caleb, love the stream as usual. This is from EW Visuals. Going to be using A7S for the first time over the weekend. What are my best picture profiles for low light and daytime stuff? Ethan. So yeah, Ethan, if are you okay with log? In which case S-Log2, set your gamma's S-Log2, your gamut, set it to S-gamut, or 709 if you don't want to use LUTs. Just try those. And yeah. I saw somewhere the corner of my eye, someone asked, favorite Netflix original in the past year, from Daniel. It's been a while since I've been watching a lot of Netflix, but House of Cards. I know it's been a while, but House of Cards, just stunning. Everything about that show is just, the way they make it is amazing. So yeah, I need to catch up on whether or not that's going to keep happening because of funky business, but let me know. I haven't caught up. I know there are rumors of them bringing it back, changing the cast. So, but that show is, that's like film school. Yeah. Nice. Okay, so I'm scrolling down here. Gabby, welcome back as a member. For the GH5, would you recommend the new Adamus 7 or whatever it's called, or this Andycine? It's just going to come down to budget. This thing is $237. The Ninja 5 is $700, but the Ninja 5 has like HDR monitor specs up the wazoo, and it's a killer recorder. So I would lean toward, if you can afford it, the Ninja 5, but of course that's 3 times as expensive, almost exactly. So, and that doesn't have that does not have SDI. This has SDI in and out, which is pretty interesting. What's up, Manny Tech? Okay, so this is an interesting question from Dot. What do you think about the rumors about Panasonic full frame mirrorless, and what do you think about Blackmagic Raw? Panasonic full frame, you know, it's hard to tell. It's just rumors at this point, but I'm really excited about that because I love the GH5 and GH5S. So please, yes, more. Bring on the full frame. As for Blackmagic design, it's very interesting, and I'm wondering if we're going to see a raw codec wars. You know, you got ProRes RAW, now we have Blackmagic RAW. I'm sure Adobe is pulling their hair out and running around in a circle on fire just because there's now these two big new RAW formats on other systems. And you know Blackmagic wants you guys to use Resolve and not Adobe. And same with Final Cut and Apple. They want you to head over to Final Cut and use ProRes RAW. So yeah, I'm excited to try it. Those compression rates look insane. What is it, 12:1 now? So that's crazy. I need to do a little water sip here. I'm starting to get all stuffy. IBC need to blah, 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 a lot of videos. Did a video with Dan Chung. Nice. Or Chungda, rather. Excuse me. So yeah, Blackmagic Raw. Interesting stuff. And that makes a lot of sense why Blackmagic was very quiet about ProRes RAW being supported on the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. Right? They knew this was coming, so yeah. So we got Abby in here. People are talking about Bloodline. I've heard about that, but I've never watched it. What's your day rate, and do you travel? I don't know if you guys are talking to each other or to me. I don't have a day rate anymore. I do this full time. I'm trying to remember what, well, I'm not going to tell you what it was back when I did that, but when I was freelance. But it would depend. I had one for me as a shooter, just a person, and then one for me and my like full kit. So I'd show up with all the gear. I trying to remember when I stopped editing, but there was a point where I decided just to do full-time shooting and on-set production and less post. But yeah, so that totally didn't answer your question, but maybe you got something out of that. So I'm gonna jump down here a little bit. Yeah, House of Cards. House of Cards. I hope it comes back. Part of me, and this is crazy conspiracy theory time, part of me wonders, and again, I'm not saying this is even remotely the truth, but I like to think about this stuff. I wonder, or think, what if Netflix knew about all the, what's-his-face shenanigans? Spacey, Kevin Spacey. What if Netflix knew that Spacey was getting funky and wrote the script, set the script up in such a way that it was very convenient if he had to be removed from the show? Is that kind of weird? If you're a fan of the show, let me know. But the fact that he's no longer, well, I'm not going to spoil it, but yeah. Just something to think about. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Right. On the Fuji X-T3, will not have IBIS will not having in-body stabilization be a deal breaker? I guess it depends on the rolling shutter too. If that's not as bad, then maybe it's okay. It's tricky because the A7 III, it has in-body stabilization, but it's not the most amazing. You have to keep the camera pretty still. If you're just doing a handheld shot like this, it's fine, but if you're trying to move around, it can get kind of gnarly. So I don't lose my mind if I don't see in-body stabilization, but it does depend on the system. Like if it's a heavy system, in a way it's nice if it's balanced. If it's not balanced, like the EOS R, if it's lens heavy, I found it was pretty rough to film in certain environments with that thing, just because you were having to force the lens up to keep it steady. Whereas the GH5S isn't that bad. What's your take on vintage lenses? This is Kenny's production gear. Like the cost. Clients get shocked when I turn up to shoot with a 30 to 40-year-old lens. What's your favorite vintage lens now? I like the cost. Oh, they get shocked. I see. I love vintage lenses, man. I am a huge fan. Favorite lens, if I had to pick one single lens right now, it would probably be the Mir MIR 35 millimeter. Is it f2, I believe? Really hot lens. So yeah. All right, folks. Let's see. A7 III guide release imminent from Corey. What's going on, Corey? Thanks for being a member. Nice face emoji there. Good stuff. Yes, it's happening this week. I said on Twitter it was going to happen this week, so I just need to get it done. Once it's up, that means the A7 III guide will come out, and then I'll be able to talk about some interesting findings on the channel. So that is going to be happening. What do we got? 2 more days this week, and I'm maybe releasing 2 more videos this week. Tomorrow, I'm thinking I'll be releasing, it depends on the day, but I think tomorrow we're going to be releasing a video addressing all the Canon drama, because people have been getting nuts all over the internet about me, about people that attend these events and ethics and stuff. So video on that, short video, and then another video on lighting cooking videos is coming up to the channel by Saturday. So the A7 III review will probably then be next week, but the guide will get up here before long. So stay tuned for that stuff. We'll be talking about all of that here on the channel before too long. Unfortunately, guys, I'm out of time. I'm going to have to bounce here. This was fun, as usual. I love chilling with y'all. Thank you guys for being just a killer community. And it's, as I've said in the past, I'm very proud of you guys. I see you guys around YouTube being complete gentlemen and awesome, and ladies. Very, very good stuff. So I appreciate the support. I appreciate also educating each other. I see here in the chat on my videos when I check in, I go down, I see questions, lots of questions, and you guys answering those questions. So you are all lovely, lovely people, and I love making content for you guys. It's really you know, a blessing to know that there's cool people on the other side of the internet getting something out of these, and not just me shouting in a crowded space. So with all that out of the way, I want to thank you guys again for tuning in. Every single Wednesday around the same time, 5 p.m. Eastern, we're doing the show. So thank you guys for joining me, for spending a little bit of time. Hope you have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you in the next video.